Now, I've been actually waiting a few days on this one. This reminds me of Ben Bernanke, early 2008. Economy looks great. Everything looks great. The banks, everything's great. Just months before the collapse happened. No, wait. September, October. Remember that? Just months before, Bernanke was out telling everybody how great everything is. No problems. We don't see any problem, you know. And then it all hit. Nobody saw it coming. We didn't know. Tell me if this sounds familiar. This is from Michael Snyder's Economic Collapse blog. Janet Yellen says a new financial crisis probably won't happen in our lifetimes. Hold on. In our lifetimes. Miss Yellen, may I ask you a question? Yes, Jason M4. How many more years left do you think you have in your life? Maybe 2. Oh, okay. I also agree with your statement. There probably won't be a financial crisis probably within our lifetimes. You're saying that, so it means your lifetime. But your lifespan, you're saying, is about 2 more years before you croak over and die. Gotcha. I'll agree with that one. And the rest of our lifetimes, what was the first video I did today? Global debt, GDP, $217 trillion, all-time high, 327% debt to GDP ratio. Once you're past 100%, that's the point of no return. We're 3 times past that. I'm gonna go with Janet Yellen. Matter of fact, Magic 8 Ball. It's been a while. Let's go ahead and get here. Do this. Magic 8 Ball. Janet Yellen says a new financial crisis probably won't happen in our lifetimes. Of course, the BIS says one could soon hit with a vengeance. But for the purpose of me asking you, and I haven't touched your little shiny 8-ballness in a while. I'd like to ask you a question. Is a new financial crisis going to happen in our lifetimes? Reply hazy. Try again. Oh, I'm sure. Maybe I didn't rub it like they do in the casino. They rub their little tokens, rub the screen, press the button. I didn't win. Rub it twice this time. Oh, I won. That's the ticket. Rub it twice. I didn't win. Rub it 3 times. Won. Yes. So, rub it twice. Rub it 3 times. Shake it. Cannot predict now. Listen, okay. 2 out of 2. The 8-ball. Magic 8-ball does not, under any circumstances, want to answer this question. And I'm not the kind of guy to force it upon it. Magic 8-ball, appreciate your time. Go back to sleep. Sleep mode activated. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen is quite convinced that the United States will not experience another financial crisis for a very long time to come. C. Bernanke in 2008, he was pretty sure too. A few months later, it happened. In fact, she is publicly saying that she does not believe that another one will happen in our lifetimes. But there are other central bankers that see things very differently. In fact, a new report that was just released by the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, and that's, by the way, that's like the central bank's central bank, is warning that a new financial crisis could soon strike with a vengeance. So, who was right? Well, we had a previous Federal Reserve Chair named Ben Bernanke. He was wrong. He's saying, they didn't use those same words, but he said something similar. Everything's fine. Outlook's great. Financial crisis. Boom. Here you go. Well, we didn't see it coming. Couldn't have predicted this. We didn't know. Which means that's what Janet Yellen will do, should the crisis come here shortly and under her watch. But, so who was right? It would be nice if it turned out that Yellen was right. I mean, right? We don't want this. I don't want this. We don't want no crisis. Nobody should want to see a repeat of what happened in 2008. And Yellen seems extremely confident that she will never see another crisis of that magnitude. Quote, would I say there will never, ever be another financial crisis? You know, probably that would be going too far, but I do think we're much safer, and I hope that it will not be in our lifetimes, and I don't believe it will be, she said at the London event. Notice all the maybe, could be, possibly, but I don't think, that's her scapegoat way out of it when it comes. Well, I told you it might, but Even though the U.S. national debt has roughly doubled since the start of the last financial crisis, and even though corporate debt has roughly doubled since then as well, and even though U.S. consumers are more than $12 trillion in debt, and even though the top 25 U.S. banks have $222 trillion of exposure to derivatives, Miss Yellen believes that our financial system is, quote, much safer and much sounder than it was in 2008. Quote, I think the system is much safer and much sounder, she said. We are doing a lot more to try to look for financial stability risks that may not be immediately apparent, but to look in corners of the financial system that are not subject to regulation outside those areas in order to try to detect threats to financial stability that may be emerging. Well, I've got one for you, Janet Yellen. It's something Warren Buffett called weapons of financial mass destruction. They're called derivatives. You could ban them altogether if you wanted to save the day and never have any major issue again like this, like we're talking. That's ultimately going to come because of these weapons of financial mass destruction. And they're regulated. They're regulated entities, so you already know they're there. You don't have to look in the corner. We're looking in the corner of the financial system. Who writes this trash? We're looking in the corner. Ben Bernanke, if this doesn't work, we have more tools in our toolbox. You remember the gay guy from the Jerky Boys? What did he call his name? What does he call himself? Jack Torres. Torres. I want to show him my toolbox, is what he said. I have a feeling that these words may come back to haunt her, and the fact that she has more power over the performance of the U.S. economy than anyone else does is more than just a little bit frightening. You want to know what else is frightening? They're gung-ho and full steam ahead. Let's keep raising interest rates when they shouldn't be. They're going to cause the next issue, as I've discussed at length. Not in this video. The truth is that signs of a major new economic downturn are emerging all around us, and many are warning that the next great financial crisis is just around the corner. For example, just consider what a new report from the Bank for International Settlements is saying. The BIS is widely regarded as the central bank of central banks. And this new report is warning that we could be headed for a financial boom gone wrong. Miss Yellen, are you not in any kind of communication with the BIS? You guys are 180 degrees apart. A new financial crisis is brewing in the emerging economies, and it could hit with a vengeance. An influential group of central bankers has warned. Emerging markets, such as China, are showing the same signs that their economies are overheating as the US and the UK demonstrated before the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, according to an annual report of the BIS. Claudio Borio, the head of the BIS Monetary and Economic Department, said a new recession could come with a vengeance, and the end may come to resemble more closely a financial boom gone wrong. And of course, many of the most trusted analysts in the financial world agree with the BIS. In fact, Mr. Doom, or better known as Dr. Doom, Mark Faber, is predicting that stocks could soon decline by 40% or more, which of course, as you know, is in stark contrast to what Lindsey Williams' supposed right-hand man said, that we're getting ready to melt up, not down. You know how I feel about that. If the man often hailed as the original Dr. Doom is right, the stock market could see another lurch higher, at which point investors may want to cash out quickly and run for cover. Mark Faber, the editor of the the Gloom, Boom, and Doom report, and a perennial bear, isn't backing down from his latest dire prediction that would send stocks plummeting by 40% or more. A drop of that size could take the S&P 500 index down from Friday's closing price of $24.38 to $14.63. In the end, we shall see who is right and who is wrong, and let us certainly hope that another crisis like the one we saw in 2008 does not happen anytime soon, because tens of millions of Americans are completely unprepared for one. According to a brand new survey that was just released, almost half the country currently spends as much or more money than they make each month. Nearly half of Americans say their expenses are equal to or even greater than their income, according to a new study from the Center for Financial Services Innovation. And for those 18 to 25% is over half, up to 54%. Half of America has no financial cushion, says Jennifer Tescher, president and CEO of CFSI, which released the study. They are living really close to the edge, she said. Jennifer, I hear you. Another recent survey discovered that 69% of Americans do not have an adequate emergency fund. With so many of us living on the edge, our society is extremely vulnerable to a major financial shock. And when one finally does happen, a lot of people are going to get knocked out of the ranks of the middle class very rapidly. Even though things seem relatively stable for the moment, poverty is on the rise all over the country. For example, according to the Daily Mail, the number of homeless people in Los Angeles has risen, get ready for this, by 23% over the last decade? No. 5 years? No. Last year. According to a new count released in May, the number of homeless people in Los Angeles area has jumped by 23% in the last year to reach nearly 58,000. Not 5,800, 58,000. Of course, some 5,000 are veterans, the highest number of homeless veterans of any city in the country, in a near 60% increase over the previous year. And we are seeing similar things in cities all over the nation. The U.S. is in the midst of a long-term economic decline that goes back for decades. Our economic infrastructure has been gutted. Our middle class is now a minority of the population, and we have piled up the biggest mountain of debt in the history of the world in a desperate attempt to maintain a standard of living that we have not earned. Hopefully, Janet Yellen is right, and hopefully the next major financial crisis will be put off for as long as possible. But whether the next financial crisis comes quickly or not, the truth is that the United States economy is going to continue to decline if we continue to make the same kinds of incredibly poor decisions that we have been making for a very long time. And by the way, in all fairness, it's not necessarily you and me and the people making the decisions. It's always the government making promises they know they can't keep, but realizing I'll be long gone before those promises even have to come. I'm going to get my money. I'm going to get my votes. I'm going to get my fantastic health insurance. Let someone else deal with it. Why? Because it's all about me. It's all about you, girl, in your 16th birthday. Little SpongeBob, if you saw that episode. I'm out. Take care, guys and gals.